Hey guys, good morning. Give me just a minute or two. I want to make sure that there haven't been any issues with the Zoom link. Right now, it's just a couple of you in here, and wanted to make sure that Matt and the team had sent out the correct Zoom link. So give me 2 seconds, and then we will get started. Just want to follow up and make sure that we are good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And then I think we'll have a few more people hopefully jump on here. Just text Matt to kind of find out how things were going on y'all's end. So my name is Marty Miller. This is a KW Consumer App Training class. I am your regional technology trainer for the South Texas region. That includes our Houston area, obviously, and then we've got San Antonio, Austin, everything south down to the Rio Grande Valley. So welcome in, glad that you guys are here. We're gonna talk about the KW Consumer app for about an hour as a consumer. So we're gonna start the class off actually taking our agent hat off. We're gonna put our consumer hat on, and we're gonna discuss what the app looks like from the usage of an actual consumer so that you guys can understand what it's like, some of the features, some additional selling points when you're discussing it with your consumers. And then we'll spend the last 30 minutes or so talking about how to get the app out, how to work with the guides, and then what it looks like in command when the consumer is doing certain things. So if you guys have not already, definitely important to make sure that you've gone and downloaded the app. So let me share my screen on my phone real quick. We'll transition over, and then you guys can actually see what that looks like. So right now, I'm going to transition. Let's go ahead and go into my iPhone, and you guys can see, if you haven't before downloaded the app, it is in the App Store. There's actually a recent update that happened this past Wednesday as well. So super important if you haven't updated the app to do that. Looks like that. It's the white background with the red letters. If you have not previously gone in and downloaded it, please do so. When you go to download it, you will need to create an account, just like any other consumer would. The consumer app does not know that you are actually a KW agent, really doesn't care either, right? So it wants to have you create an account if it's the first time that you have used the app. Now, if you've sent yourself your own branded app, then you should have it automatically branded to you. If you click on the More button in the bottom right-hand corner, if you see your headshot, your name, your license number, then this app has been branded to you, meaning that you as a consumer are using you as an agent's version of the app. If for any reason you get in and you do not have a branded version, and when you click on the More screen, it looks like this. Oops, hang on real quick. Let me remove the agent. There we go. Well, typically that actually removes me. There we go. All right, so if it looks like this, where it says find an agent, it basically means that your consumer app has not been tied to an actual agent. And so you're gonna wanna do that as the first time user of the consumer app. And then you're also gonna wanna make sure, obviously, that your consumer themselves have done the same thing. So we're gonna click on find an agent, the top right-hand corner. And then you can see I can actually search by a location, or I can search by name of the agent. So if I don't have an actual name for an agent, I could just start searching. Let's just use Houston, for example. And I can see then all of the agents that do business with Keller Williams in the Houston area. Now, let me ask you a question, those of you on the call. If you saw, let's just say, this list of agents, you got to this screen, you were trying to decide between these 6, all amazing agents, don't get me wrong, and yet you were deciding between these 6, which of those 6 would you most likely want to do business with? Put it in the chat. You should have a chat button down at the bottom of your screen so that you can bring up the chat window. You can discuss with all of us that are on the class. Which one of those 6 are you most likely to do business with? And I'll give you a couple seconds there to see if you guys have an answer. If not, I'll tell you my opinion if I were the consumer, right? So if you were the consumer, which one of those 6 would you most likely do business, right? Colleen says Steven Adams. Colleen, I'm guessing that you chose Steven because he has a profile photo loaded, right? So the consumer wants to make a connection with the agents that are on the app. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to make sure that you have your headshot and your bio uploaded. A couple of different places where you're going to do that. You're going to do that within Command. Underneath the settings menu, right, you'll see that when you click on settings in Command, there's Command settings and Connect settings. You'll want to click on Connect settings. That's where you'll fill out your marketing profile. You'll also want to make sure that you go to kwconnect.com and fill out your complete profile there. So you're going to log in to kwconnect.com. One of the tabs is profile. Make sure that's been completely loaded as well. If you want to see what your profile looks like, and if you actually have your headshot loaded or what that bio looks like, you can always search for your name and then choose yourself as an agent. You'll see here on the screen, obviously I have uploaded my headshot. I'm on a team, so my team is listed along with my logo, license number, address of my market center, my website, my specialties and designations, phone numbers, emails, and then my bio as well. So you can see that's all of my information that's been loaded in. So super important that you have all of that information as well. That way the consumer can make a connection with you once they've read through that. If they decide that they want to brand their app to you, meaning they want to work with you, they would click on the Get in Touch button at the bottom of the screen. Once they do that, they would click on Confirm, and that's then going to tie their version of the consumer app to you as an agent. When you come back out, you will see that you can now verify that this app has been branded to you. So you can see my app is now branded to me as an agent. My name and headshot are listed at the very top. So very important that you guys download the app, go ahead and brand it to yourself, and then that you understand what the process looks like. If for any reason your consumer goes direct to the App Store and doesn't follow one of your links, then they may, on accident, right, download a version of the consumer app that is not branded to you. And you would just want to make sure you check with them, hey, when you click on that More button in the bottom right, do you see my headshot? That way you know they have your version of the app, right? Let's start by, as a consumer, we want to start searching for properties. So you can see I can click on the bottom left-hand corner, the magnifying glass, and I get immediately taken to a search screen. Now, all of our screens will most likely be a little bit different with regards to search, and yet that's where it's going to default to, is the ability to search on the map. Now, here's one of the cool things that we can do with the consumer app. If we're looking to live near a major landmark, area, restaurant, any kind of major item, let's just say I want to live near Disney World. I don't know the address of Disney World, and yet I can actually type in Disney World and do a search, and it takes me directly to where Disney World is located. I can zoom out on the screen a little bit and see some homes that are available for sale around the Disney World area. For example, I can do Disneyland as well. I'm going from Florida, now I'm in California, there's Disneyland Drive, and you can see the park located there in the middle of the screen. What about, I don't know, maybe you want to get into politics someday and you want to live near the White House. I can search for the White House and see properties available for sale around that. What if I wanted to see the Statue of Liberty from my second floor balcony? I could type in Statue of Liberty, and there you see, there's Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty, zoom out, there are homes for sale around it. Coming back to Houston, just think if you went to a lot of Texans games or the rodeo and you wanted to live near Reliant Stadium, you could look for Reliant Stadium and boom, zoomed in on Reliant Stadium and homes for sale around it. So that's just one way that we can search, because our app is connected with Google. You can even see the Google logo there at the bottom left-hand corner. Anytime your consumer begins typing something in that search box at the top, if it's not a specific address, then Google is using the search term to identify what's most likely the address associated with this search term, and then zooming your map in on that. And it takes in a variety of factors into consideration, typically most likely where you are. I don't know that we only have one Reliant Stadium, but Google knows that I'm standing in Katy, close to Houston. So it's most likely the one that I'm searching for is the one closest to me, And so that's why it zooms the map in there for you. So searching by landmarks is one of just many ways that we can search. Another way that we can search neighborhoods. So if you guys know Katy at all, you know that Cinco Ranch is a popular neighborhood. I can actually type in Cinco Ranch and it zooms me in on Cinco Ranch, and then you can see all of those blue boundaries on the screen. Each one of those blue boundaries represents a neighborhood boundary, and that's from Nextdoor. So our partnership with Nextdoor.com identifies these boundaries based upon what consumers have submitted to Nextdoor as both the names of their neighborhoods and the boundaries of those neighborhoods. I can see if I zoom in, I actually start to get the names of the neighborhoods start to pop up. So you can see Cinco Ranch Beach Club, Cinco Ranch Fountain View, Cinco Ranch Cinco Forest. I can click on any one of these neighborhoods and get additional information about the actual neighborhood itself. So you can see I can get a market snapshot. I can get what locals are saying about the area. I can get commute times, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in a minute. I can get the nearby schools for the neighborhood, both public and private. How often do we hear, don't be the source of the information, be the source of the information. So if your consumer is saying, hey, how are the schools in that area? Well, that's pretty easy. You can just say, hey, if you download my consumer app, any listing you look at or any neighborhood you look at, my app will actually tell you the schools that are zoned to that listing or neighborhood and give you the actual state scores for those schools, and you can make that decision for yourself, right? Because 93% might be good unless you're coming from a neighborhood where your elementary school was 100%, right? And you're like, well, it's kind of a letdown. So you can let the consumer then decide, are those good scores or not? Our consumer app not only has a relationship with Google, it has a relationship with Nextdoor, it also has a relationship with Yelp. So you can see on the screen, there's the outline of the boundary of Kellywood Terrace. And then as I scroll up, you can see highlights, restaurants, grocery, nightlife, cafes, shopping, arts and entertainment, and fitness. These are all categories being pulled over from Yelp. And then you can see on the map that there are a series of these locations near that neighborhood. So I've got several restaurants, I've got a grocery store, I've got what looks like a running store, a running shoe store, glasses, a Hallmark. So you can see all of the different things from Yelp that are listed near that actual neighborhood. So it might be important for you to live near a grocery store or near several restaurants or etc. So the consumer can actually get an idea of what places are around that neighborhood because of our partnership with Yelp and its integration into the app. Next, I can see the homes that are for sale in that neighborhood. I can just swipe left and then see all of the different homes that are actually for sale in that neighborhood. And that's on any neighborhood as I'm on my map. So I can zoom in, I can see Kellywood Point, Camden, Willow Park Greens, Kelly, right, West Green, all of that. And I could click on each one of these and get a new set of information about that neighborhood. How often do you work with a buyer that says, well, I don't know much about the area, but I know X is a nice neighborhood? Okay, great. Well, if you use my app, you can actually search for that particular neighborhood. We can get you data about the neighborhood, nearby locations, average home price, the schools, etc. And then the nice thing is, if that neighborhood's not a perfect fit, you can see all the other neighborhoods that surround it to kind of get a better idea. A lot of times consumers might say, we want to buy a house in the same neighborhood as my parents or near my parents. So they could search for the neighborhood that the parents live in and then see the information about that neighborhood and all the surrounding neighborhoods as well. So just one more way that the consumer can search: by landmark, by neighborhood. Now, what's the school district out there for you guys? What's the full name? Or you can throw it in the chat there, Colleen or whoever else. What's the name of your school district out where you guys are? So it's probably something independent school district, right? Fort Bend, Katy Independent School District. I know that's what we're out here. So what's the name, throw it in the chat there, of your actual school district? So it's Humble. So I can type in Humble, right? And then Independent. And you can see there at the bottom of the screen, it's already pulling it up, Humble Independent School District. I can click on that and it's going to show me the boundary lines for Humble ISD. Now I imagine that there's a school district down here. There's a school district over here. There's probably a school district up here. And so you can search for any one of those school districts. And someone might say, right, out here in Katy, we're actually on the line of 3 different school districts, 4 if you go east. So Katy ISD is our main one, but you have Fort Bend ISD to the south, you have Lamar ISD to the west, you have HISD to the east, and you have Cypress Fairbanks ISD to the north. So if someone says, hey, I want to live in the energy corridor, but I want to make sure I'm in Katy ISD, then you could have them actually search by the school district and see those boundary lines. You can search for a particular school. However, it's using the landmark function, and it won't provide you the actual boundaries, but at least it will tell you the schools, or excuse me, the neighborhoods around that. So for example, I could just search for Cinco Ranch High School. And because Google knows what I'm looking for as far as that goes, it's going to zoom the search in on Cinco Ranch High School. So you can see the middle of the screen. Now, it's not showing me the boundaries of what neighborhoods are zoned to Cinco Ranch High School, excuse me. But at least I can tell, okay, well, it's most likely going to be at least this neighborhood, and then this neighborhood over here, and this neighborhood, right? So they can get an idea. They might not know much. They might just know, hey, I've heard this school is a really good school. I want to know the neighborhoods that I could move into around that school. Great, just search for the name of the school. You'll get zoomed in on the map on that school, and then you can see the names of the neighborhoods and the houses for sale around that particular school. Obviously, anytime they click on any one of the listings, they're going to find out what schools that home is actually zoned to. So let's just choose this 385. Whoops. I got fat fingers. There we go. So now I've actually selected a particular listing. You can see that as I look at these listings, I've got several options. First of all, I can click on the picture and drag it towards the top. I'm going to start getting information about the actual listing. Now, we were just talking about schools, so I can zoom down, right? Just kind of scroll down, if you will. And at the bottom there, I can see, okay, yes, this is a zone to Cinco Ranch High School. And then I can also see which elementary and which junior high it is zoned to as well. So that information is included on every listing. We're going to get back into the listings in just a second. However, some additional information on search. The consumer has the ability to do just a good old-fashioned home search, right? Typically, I'm looking for a 4, 2.5, or better within 350 to 400, right? All of that type of deal. So at the very top of the screen, underneath the search bar, you can see 4 buttons. I can click on price. I'm going to get 2 white dots at the far left and right of the screen. I can drag those in. And I can say I want to search for a house between 250 and let's say 400. And I want that to have at least 4 bedrooms, right? We have twin 5-year-old daughters, and we've got Lily Mae due August 19th. So got to have at least 4 bedrooms, 3 for the girls, 1 for my wife and I. We've got 2 dogs, so we got to make sure that it's a single family home with a backyard. And then I can also click on more. And you can see as I go into more that there are additional filters down below. As I scroll up, you can click on listing type. You can see that it defaults to active homes for sale. So for any reason you don't see a listing on here, just make sure that it hasn't gone pending, because if that's the case, then obviously it wouldn't show up. You can also see that below that pending box, there's a for rent versus for sale toggle. So I can actually toggle for rent and search for properties that are leased, right? And then I can toggle back for sale and see properties that are for sale. I'll just add in bathrooms, right? 3 daughters, got to have at least 2 bathrooms for them to share. And then I could go through and add any additional features or filters that I wanted to. Once I'm finished with that search, I can click on done. For some reason, price occasionally doesn't stick, so I can just come back and I'm going to go ahead and change that price filter to what we have, 250 to 400, I think is what we said. And click on done. If you have fat fingers like me, you got to be careful on those little sliders. So you can now see on the screen, and I can zoom out, right, and see based upon my filters what homes are for sale in that area. And I might say, hey, I want to be east of Grand Parkway there, but I want to be south of Highland Knolls. So I want to live in an area specifically on the map. I can click on the draw button in the top right-hand corner. Watch what happens. It clears off everything on the map, and then I can start tracing And as I do, it's going to draw that little blue line, and I can say, this is the area that I want to live in. When I do that, you can see that it then changes that area to blue and allows me to then say, okay, that's the particular area. It's still part of a bigger neighborhood, but I don't want to live on the north side of the neighborhood. I want to live on the south side of the neighborhood. Whatever their actual, what they're looking to do, they can trace it on the map. Once I have gone through all of those filters, you see that took a little bit of time. I don't want to have to redo that every time I'm in the app. I know that this is the only area that I'm really searching for. So I want to save this as a search that I can access at any time in the future. So I can do that by clicking on the Save button in the top right-hand corner, just below More, just below above that little finger we used to draw. And then I can actually name this search. So this could be Cinco East of 99, whatever I want to call the actual search. And I can click on Save. You then see a big button that says, okay, that has been saved. And now at the bottom of the screen, we've spent a lot of time in the search menu on the far left. The fourth icon over says saved. If you click on that, you'll see the bottom half of the screen shows my recent saved searches. And if I click on Cinco East of 99, it takes me right back into this spot. So for any reason, I had come back into the app and my filters had been cleared and my map had been cleared, and I was actually in a completely different part of the state or city, and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to that search that I set up a day or two ago. I will just click on Saved, click on my saved search, and boom, it zooms me right back in on the map to that area that I had outlined with the same filters that I had selected in the past. So that's the way that the consumer can save their search. And we know sometimes buyers might be looking at different neighborhoods. So they might have a search for neighborhood 1, a search for neighborhood 2, a search for neighborhood 3. And it might be different price points or filters as well. Like we would pay a little bit more to get into that neighborhood, but we're not going to pay that much to get into this neighborhood, etc. So they can build out as many different saved searches as they want. You also may have people like, for me, I mean, one of my goals has always been to be on Lake Travis. Like I really like that lake. I like the Austin area. I love the water. You can actually see, I've got a little picture of a boat, right? One of my vision board items. And so I could set up a search right now, even though that's a 10 to 15 year plan for homes for sale on the water in Lake Travis, and then just periodically go on my app and search, right? Just click on my saved search and it would bring up new listings or listings that I hadn't seen before, or had seen before, my favorites, whatever, in that area that I had outlined around Lake Travis. So you can see all the different uses for saved searches that the consumer might have. Let's go ahead and dive into one of the actual properties included on the saved search. So you can see we've got 2 there. Let's check out this 335K one, right? So we're going to click on the price and it's going to pull up the listing. I can click on that photo and then drag upwards, and that listing takes over the entire screen. At the top of the screen, I can see that there are 29 photos that have been uploaded of this actual home. I can swipe left and start walking through each one of these listings. This is crazy that I clicked on this. I just sold this exact floor plan like 2 months ago in Cinco Ranch. That's kind of funny. So you can see, you can just swipe through and see the photos. I can actually click on any one of the photos, and then I get taken into what's called kind of the display. So you see all of the photos there. I can click on any one of the photos from here and it'll take up my full screen. But even then you can see I've got a lot of black at the top, black at the bottom. If I turn my phone sideways, it then takes up more space. I can see a better zoom. And then I could actually zoom in and say, ooh, looks like that carpet's probably going to need to be replaced, right? By zooming in, I can get a better idea of kind of what's happening within any one of these photos. Looks like the air filter should have been replaced too, right? So the consumer can do that on any one of these actual photos by just clicking on it and then turning their phone sideways. They'll get the landscape, keep it back up and down, they'll get the portrait view, and they can look at any one, in this case, of the 29 photos that have been uploaded. If I click on the X in the top left-hand corner, it takes me back to the listing. And from there, I can see the information about this property. So it's listed at 335. It's a 4.3, 2,885 square feet. there's some white space underneath the price just above the address. If there had been a recent price decrease on this listing, then you would see a little green squiggly line with the amount of the decrease. So it might say 3K, 5K, 10K, whatever the actual dollar amount was that had been reduced. Below the address there, you can see 3 buttons. So you've got save, hide, and share. I can click on save to save this property. And then by default, you will have a first names collection. So whatever the consumer's first name is, you will see they have a favorites. So they can add everything to their favorites should they choose to. However, we also know that sometimes, again, just like searches, consumers may have different collections. So it might be each neighborhood has its own collection. You can also think about the fact that sometimes consumers just look at houses for sale to do things like upgrading their own home or remodel, or they want to buy a pool, but they're not sure kind of what they're looking for. So they go look at homes for sale to see who else has pools. They could create a collection for each one of those. So it might be the master bathroom remodel collection. Maybe it's the pool collection, and I just put listings in there of pools that I like. So you could create any one of those collections. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and save it to, actually, let's do a new one. I'll take it back. I already have a Cinco Ranch Homes collection. So let's just click on that collection, and then I can click on save. It has now saved that property to that collection. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, it says saved, and then my heart icon fills in. Now I can go through and get more information on the listing. Let's just say, okay, great, I've seen that one. Let me see, are there any other listings in the area? Oh, yep, there is. Here's this one for $375. I start taking a look at that property. I go through and kind of check it out. I look at the photos. You know how we do it, right? We're just like, okay, cool, let me see. And I decide, well, I don't know that that house is really worth $375. This thing better have a pool for $375. Okay, it does have a pool, I was about to say. And I could still go through and say, oh, it's going to be a lot of work to repaint. It's not exactly my style. I need a backyard for the dogs. I'm going to say that this is not a property for me. So I can click on the hide button in the middle, that same toolbar where save, hide, share was. And as I click on hide, you'll see the eye turns red. It goes bloodshot, right? Now, if I minimize this listing, you'll see that that listing just went light gray instead of black. If I scroll away from this map and come back to the map, you'll see that that property is now gone. So how many times have you worked with a buyer that said, well, I keep looking at properties, but it's the same 6 homes in the area we want to live in, and I've looked at all 6 of those homes and none of them match my criteria. So they could come in and say, all right, if any of these 6 don't match your criteria, let's just hide them. And that way, every time you log in the morning or afternoon, whenever you're searching for homes, you're only going to see either new listings or listings that you like that you want to keep on the list. So it's a great way to kind of clear out the clutter on the map and only see properties that they are actually interested in. Now, for any reason, they're like, whoops, I didn't mean to hide that one, or I hid it, but my partner, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, mom likes the house. Maybe we should consider it. I can click on the more button in the top right-hand corner again, go into that listing filter and scroll down to the very bottom, and you'll see show hidden listings. If I toggle that over and then click on done, you'll see it comes back on the map, still grayed out, but at least I can see it. I can also click on it and then click on the hide button one more time. It will show back up on my map now as a property to be viewed. Okay, so that's how you can either save a property to a collection or hide it if they're not interested in it. Just like other apps, you can share this listing with other people that might be involved in your buying process. So if I click on share, you can see that I can easily text this property. I can airdrop it if I have an iPhone. I can send it via email, Facebook, Slack, Discord, whatever your communication options are on your phone. You can see that you can easily send that out. Now, just a heads up, when you send that listing out to somebody, they don't have to have the app downloaded, and it does not prompt them to download the app. It actually just sends them to a single page landing page of that property where they can check it out. Okay, so it doesn't, you don't have to have the app in order to share it with somebody. Underneath those 3 buttons, you can see you've got information included in the app about Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered. After that, You can see the public description being pulled from the MLS. This is a very brief description, and yet you can still see it. And then as I continue to scroll down, I'm going to get additional information pulled from the MLS. Let me ask you a question real quick. Based upon what's on the screen right now, who can tell me the name of the listing agent? What's the name of the listing agent on this property? Throw it in the chat there. Who can tell me the name of the listing agent? Well, your silence is deafening, and it is correct. And that, right? Colleen says, all I can see is the broker. That's absolutely correct. The reason none of you put the name of the listing agent is the name of the listing agent isn't listed. So guys, this is great. How many times have your consumers been using an app? And they are not right now. I can guarantee you they are doing it. They are using an app that quickly and easily provides them with the listing agent's information, phone number, email, name, brokerage. If they have a question and they want to circumvent you, they can easily just call the listing agent. Guys, some of your consumers are using an app that provides them with a series of agents, right? Some of them are the premier agent. You know which app I'm talking about. And if they click on ask a question, all of a sudden they're going to get 4 or 5 phone calls from a bunch of different agents, none of whom are you. So that's the great thing about the KW Consumer app. Excuse me, if your client has a question, they click on ask your agent, and that request goes directly to you. If your consumer is looking to backdoor you or work with the listing agent and not cut you out of the transaction, if they're looking to do that, they will inevitably do that. Let's not be, living in fairy tale land. And yet, if they're using our app, they're going to have to work a little bit harder in order to make that happen, because our app does not list the listing agent or the listing agent's information. So if your consumer, right, and you guys worked really hard to get the consumer on this app. So that work pays off in the fact that if they have questions, they need to click on either ask your agent or schedule a tour. Both of those go to you as the agent who worked so hard to get them onto your app. So they do a great job of protecting you as the agent with your consumers. As we scroll down, you can see I can get additional information about the home. This is also all pulled from the MLS. I can see the neighborhood information and a quick neighborhood snapshot. Again, I can click on Explore, and then I can get all the information just like we did previously. Now here's the cool thing on commute times. This is for the neighborhood, and yet as I continue to scroll down, I'm gonna get what locals say about the neighborhood. I've got the walkability, and then I get into commute times. How often do they say, well, we just wanna make sure we're within a 30-minute drive of work, or we have to be within 20 minutes of her mom's house, or we've got to make sure that we have a Target within a 20-minute drive, whatever it is, right? The consumer can come through, and actually, when they first get to this page, it's going to be blank, and you can see that they can add a place. So let's just say, I want to find out, so I'll just put in the market center that I work at, 19708, which I don't really work at anymore and used to. I want to know how far would it take me to get to the market center, the Platinum Market Center. So there I put in that address, and then boom, it says it's going to be a 28-minute drive. Now, give or take, we all know Houston traffic can be a little wonky, but the average would be a 28-minute drive time. I could also say, well, my wife has an addiction to shopping at Target, so we got to live near a Target. You can see I can add a place and type in Target. I don't even know the address of the Target, but look, as I type it in, it's going to start to show all of the Targets that are nearby to this listing. And I can say, yep, the Katy Freeway one, that's the one that she likes to shop at. So let me click on Target there. That's going to be a 10-minute drive to the Target. What if I say, well, her parents actually live somewhere close, and I would type in their address, and then we could find out how far away from her parents' house do they live. And now I can see, okay, so and how often have they told you this? It's got to be within 45 minutes of a drive to work, but 30 minutes to her parents' house, and it's got to be 20 minutes to this. They can put any 3 places that they want to list in here. And then anytime they look at any listing, they would be able to see the drive time. If I say, hey, maybe I want to bike to Target, it'd take me about a half hour. If I wanted to walk to Target, it'd take me about an hour and a half. Maybe this is not the best listing if I like to walk to Target. I literally have had a buyer happen one time where I had a couple where their mom lived with them. The mom was a little bit older, did not drive, and they literally told me, okay, we have to live in a house that is within walking distance of a grocery store and a Catholic church. And I said, I don't know how HAR is going to help us with that, right? That's typically the app that we use. This is a great example of a way for your consumer to put in specific items. So if I had an idea of which neighborhoods they wanted to live in, then I could find the nearest grocery store and Catholic church in each one of those neighborhoods, and I could put those addresses in here, and then they would know how far would it be if mom had to walk to the grocery store or the church. All right, so just an example of how this can be used for the consumer. And you can see they can come in and quickly and easily remove these and then add something new. So it doesn't have to be the same 3 for every listing. Again, just like we did with the neighborhood, you can see the schools that this actual house is zoned to, and then nearby private schools as well. And then if there are any upcoming open houses, you can see mortgage calculator. Be real careful with this mortgage calculator. It's an okay tool, but it doesn't include taxes. And we know, especially in Texas, or at least the Houston area, taxes can make a big difference on your monthly payment. So it does not include taxes in that calculator. Just be careful. Keller Mortgage, Keller Covered, again, kind of included some information there. And then you can see we actually have, as of last Wednesday, an update to the app where the consumer can request a tour. They can request a tour with you. So right now, obviously, we know that video tours are very important. With COVID and everything happening, a lot of people can't leave the house, right? My wife is pregnant. She has been out of the house to go on bike rides. She's been out of the house to go on walks. And we went one time to a state park this weekend where nobody was there because they were only allowing in a certain number of people. But outside of that, she hasn't left the house. So if we were looking to buy a house, we would literally have to lean on our agent to do the virtual tours because my wife would not want to go to the house being pregnant. So she could actually click on schedule a video tour, and then you can see that it's going to allow her to select up to 3 days. You cannot select the same day, just a heads up. So you're not going to get caught off guard with a consumer requesting a tour at 11 o'clock a.m. for 5 o'clock this afternoon, and then be like, oh, I didn't see it, now I missed my time, okay? So know that the earliest they can schedule the tour or request the tour is the next day. So it might be Thursday, maybe she has to work, so it's Thursday evening. Friday, maybe she's off, and so she can see it Monday, or see it anytime on Friday. And then Saturday, well, the girls have a birthday party, and so that would only be afternoon or evening, and there we go. Then as we scroll down, you can see that she can select whether she wants that to be an in-person tour, right? And as COVID starts to settle down, I think this is still a great tool because they can still request an in-person tour with you via the app, or they can request a live video tour. Guys, even after COVID, we're going to have buyers that are going to prefer not driving all over town. It's just the reality. And so they may say, hey, instead of us driving 45 minutes to that house, could you go drive and check it out and then connect with us via a video tour and we can kind of check it out together? It's just going to be part of our job. We would do it anyway if they were there or not there. It doesn't really matter. But it's an added feature now that we can sell to our buyers. Think about how often do you have buyers that are relocating from a different city or state? They can't drive in every weekend to look at houses, but they can lean on you to set up virtual or live video tours. So you can see if I'm going to select in person, then I can schedule it immediately. If it's a live video tour, then I have to choose which platform I would personally prefer. Now, again, this isn't a requirement. If I don't have an iPhone, so therefore FaceTime wouldn't work, I would just call the consumer and say, hey, I've got an Android, can we use Facebook Messenger instead? Or whatever the case was. You'll work out with your consumer which platform they want to use, but you can see 5 of the most popular there on the screen, or they can just click on other. So I could say, I can do any one of those 3, and then click on schedule video tour. Now, as a consumer, my request has been submitted to my agent, and you can see your agent will get in touch with you via email to confirm. You can also obviously just call or text the agent. Next, you can see activity for this home. So right now, anyone using the consumer app, well, here's the cool part, right? Because I am requesting this video tour of myself, look what just happened on my phone. The agent hat just got put back on, and as an agent, I just got a request from Kelly that someone of my consumers has requested a video tour. So that's the cool part, is that obviously Kelly is interacting with the consumer app just like Command is. I'm going to show you in Command, I also got an alert in Command about this request. But I could actually click on that notification. I could get taken into Kelly. I would click on my bell here at the top, and then you can see there's the video tour requested, and it's going to take me into the actual contact, right? So I can see the contact's information there and see who requested it. If I go into Command, I can actually see a full listing of the, I can see the listing link in Command, and then I can also see the request, meaning what days did they want to see it, and via what method do they want to see it. Anytime any other consumer is using the consumer app and they are looking at this home, you can see additional activity that starts to happen. So the consumer can start to see, now again, this is just using the consumer app. This isn't across all platforms. So if someone's doing it on Zillow or HAR or whatever, it's not going to count. And yet it's a good way at least to kind of get a rule of thumb of those that are using the consumer app. I mean, if you see 30 views on this property, that's just the people using the KW consumer app. So you can probably assume that that's going to be a hot property. You can also see some nearby homes that are listed for sale as well by swiping left there. And then you're going to get kind of legal information and jargon at the bottom there. That happens with any listing. All of that data, you just saw how comprehensive the amount of data was that was included in any listing that we click on. So I can go through and see that same amount of information. Again, no listing agent listed, and yet all that other information from the consumer's point of view. Okay, so that's how we look at the listing, how we can share it, how we can hide it, and how we can favorite it or save it to a collection. A couple other things that are pretty cool with regards to their search. How often have you guys, if you're like me, right? Anytime I'm walking, driving, it doesn't even matter if I'm traveling for work or I'm visiting family somewhere else, I see a for sale sign and I am curious. I'm just nosy, right? It's not even a house that I want to live in, but there's a for sale sign and I want to know how much it's for sale for, right? You guys do this? Hopefully I'm not the only one. The Consumer Act will actually allow your consumer anywhere in the US or Canada, wherever they stand, sit, ride, walk, bike, wherever they are, they can actually click on that button in the top right-hand corner where you see the little arrow cockeyed to the left. Click on that button right now. Each of you just got taken to a different place, unless you're all sitting in the office. I don't think you're at the office, right? But basically, the consumer app connected to the GPS included in my phone and zoomed me in where I sit, stand, drive right now. How often have your consumers called you and said, hey, we saw a house for sale this morning. I'm not sure what street we were on, or don't even know what neighborhood it was, but it had red bricks and black shutters and it had a 2-car garage. Can you find that? Do you know what house that, you know which house that is, right? You're like, what the, like, how am I supposed to know what house that is? So you can train your consumer now, hey, anytime you're out driving, walking, biking, whatever, use my consumer app. If you see a for sale sign, pull that app up real quick, click on the arrow. It's going to zoom in exactly where you are right then and there. And then you can see what property that is. You can even share that with me or send it to me or call me and have the address and I can look it up for you. So it's a great tool for the consumer to use. And again, guys, remember, if they're using HAR, which a lot of our consumers are, it's a strong app. I'm not going to talk negative about it. And yet it is strictly for Houston. Well, what if your clients are just interested in property anywhere else? That app is no longer good, right? So it's a great way, and same thing for you. If you're traveling and you just want to see what the property values are around you, you can use the same exact function. Last but not least, we talked about how the Google integration happens within the KW Consumer app. How many times have you gone on a buyer showing appointment or a listing appointment and you get to the house and you're like, ooh, wish I would have known it back to that, or wish I would have known it's next to that, right? So whether that is power lines, I've had people that don't want to live near a retention pond or a bayou, right? Concerns with floods. They want to make sure they don't back to commercial property. They don't want to back to a busy street. Maybe they do want to back to like a green belt or something, right? A walking trail. A lot of times it's difficult, especially when the listing agent doesn't want to show what it backed to with regards to the photography, to figure out what does this property actually back to. Well, here's the great thing with the KW Consumer app, both you as the agent have this ability, and of course, then the consumer has the same ability to click on more in the top right-hand corner. We spent a lot of time in that listing filter earlier, but did you see there was a second tab that says map? Click on that map tab. You can see there's actually two map types. By default, you just get the city view, if you will, and it's the streets and the neighborhoods, etc. But you can see there's actually a satellite view. If I click on that satellite view and then click on done, you can now see you actually get the satellite overhead of the area, and you can start to zoom in and you can get more information about, okay, let's take a look at this actual property. And you can see how close you can get. I mean, you can get pretty darn stinking close using that zoom in function. So you could tell, all right, are there power lines there? Does it back to a busy road? Does it back to a retention pond or bayou, right? And get a lot of information about that. As an agent, you could use this as well. Let's just say I'm gonna go on a listing appointment within the Hunters Terrace neighborhood, all right? You can see that neighborhood here. Guys, if my listing doesn't have a pool, you think I might be in trouble? Look how many homes in the Hunters Terrace neighborhood have pools, right? So that's just kind of an idea of, for me to know, all right, well, your home doesn't have a pool, well, we might be in trouble. Let's say that I'm going to show one of these properties, right? Do you see those white lines going across the middle of the screen? Because those are power lines. You can see they go all the way across. Right? There's the power lines in the backyards of all of those properties. And if we take it all the way down, right, you can see there's the power pole right there. And that's where those lines go. You can see there's another power pole. You can see the shadow of them as we start to zoom in, right? So it's a quick and easy way for you guys to know, all right, are there power lines in the backyard? Does it back to a bayou? Right? Does it back to, let's zoom out a little bit. Maybe it's, maybe this property right here, right? And the corner is all fine and well, but that's a pretty busy street there. You're right at the front of the neighborhood. Everybody entering and exiting is going to drive past your front yard. That's a concern. So it's a great way for the consumer to do more research on the properties that they're looking at, and then for you to do the same thing, regardless of whether it's a buyer showing or even a listing appointment, and you want to get a better idea of the neighborhood. So again, that's under the More button at the top right-hand corner. I click on Map. I can choose between default and satellite. So I'm going to go back to the default view just so I can see that, but you can utilize satellite and have a much better idea of where you're kind of, going with regards to your listing appointment or your buyer showing appointments. So we spent a lot of time now talking about search. Let's go back to that More button. I want to show you a little bit more information there. So let's click on More in the bottom right. So again, the client can look through their history of viewed properties, hidden properties there. They can see more information about what they've been doing on the app. If they're like, yeah, I saw that property a couple days ago, but I don't remember which one it is, they can always come back through and see recently viewed properties. They can also go into their accounts. And that third option down, Places, this is where they can also hard code those 3 places that they want to see the commute time every time they're in a neighborhood or a listing. They can add them from here as well. Now they can add them within the listing itself, but you can see you can also add them from here. In addition, they can add a co-buyer. So if they're working with a partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, best friend, whatever, they can add a co-buyer who can then see what they're doing and they can see what you're doing. They can also, as a consumer, share the app from within the app. You, as the agent, can do this as well, but you just have to be careful because the verbiage is intended for one consumer to share it with another consumer. So let's click on text. If I were to send out this text message, you can see that it says, if I were the consumer, hey, I use the KW app to search for homes with my realtor, this great guy named Marty Miller. And if you want to, you can download it now for a personalized experience. That's fine if it's consumer to consumer, but if I'm sending this out as an agent, it sounds kind of weird. So I might want to change it. Let's say I was sending this to Colleen. I could say, hey, Colleen, use the KW app to search for homes with, and I would just take all of this out and I would just say with me. right? And then download it now for a personalized experience. I could send that off to Colleen. She would get that text. She clicks on that link. It takes her to the App Store, depending on which phone she has, right? If she has an Android, it'll take her to Google Play. If she has an iPhone, it'll take her to the Apple App Store, and she can download the KW Realty app right then and there. And because it's my link, that KWTYRWB, that's my personal as an agent link. She'll download a version that's already been tied to me. Okay, each of you have your own personal link that you can send out. This is one way. I'm going to show you 3 more ways a little bit later, right? All right, so we've talked about search, we've talked about save, we talked about more. Let's look at the feed real brief. I'll tell you right now that the functionality in the feed is still being developed. The intention is for you as the agent to be able to create, both saved searches and collections for each one of your consumers that's using the app. They are working on that functionality. So right now you can click on Save Searches and Collections. You're going to see that it's going to be empty. It's not quite there yet, and yet we are developing that out, and that's the intention of this feed. You can see in the guide, anytime that I update a timeline guide, that I as the consumer will get an alert on that. So let's talk about the guide. Right in the middle of the screen there, the middle icon says Guide. When I dive into the guide, I've got 2 tabs, a buying guide and a selling guide. Now, let's just say, for example, I sent this app to each of you. All right, so you're looking at my app, you clicked on guide, and you're reading through the buying guide, you're kind of clicking on each step, you're reading all the information that's included in each one of these steps. Who do you assume wrote this guide? Put it in the chat there. Who do you assume wrote the guide, prepared the guide, put it together? Who would you say, if you were the consumer, I sent you my app and you're reading it, who do you think wrote this? Colleen says the product makers. Colleen, I think you got your agent hat on. Think about it. If you were not a real estate agent, you had nothing to do with real estate, and I said, hey, I want you to check out my app. I'm going to send it over to you, right? There you go. Now we're talking. The consumer is typically going to default to thinking, you wrote it. This is Colleen's guide. This is Kathy's guide. This is what it's like to work with Bobby, right? So it's important, guys, that you have spent time going through this app and looking at these guides, because as you start to share this with your consumers, you are setting expectations with them that you may not even know about. Okay, so because when they get the guide, they are going to do just like we are. They're going to be curious. They're going to be like, okay, cool. So if I buy, I got to start to search. Then there's everything we do when we start searching. And then when we're touring the homes, okay, cool. This is what Kathy is going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then, all right, so when it comes time to make an offer, this is how Cheryl's going to write it and what she's going to include. Okay, cool. Now, do each of you know what you just told the consumer you're going to do? So next piece of homework after you've downloaded the app, make sure your profile looks good, is to play with it, first of all, but come into the guides, read through each step. And my recommendation is that you have a notepad, a pen, something where you can write on your laptop, whatever. Read through the guides on your phone and then start making notes. If you do all the things that are included in every one of the steps and you don't add anything else and you don't subtract anything else, then you're fine. My belief is that there's probably going to be a few things that you may do a little bit differently than as they are described. There may be a few things that you do that are not included in the guide. And there may be some things that you do not do that are described in the guide. So it's important that you go through each one of these steps and take notes, okay? Buying guide, tour home step, make an offer step, right? As you go through each one and write out the notes. 1, because you then know what it says, and 2, in just a second, I'm going to show you how to make edits to these actual guide steps. So at this point, let's take off our consumer hat, and now we're going to go into our agent hat. We're going to get into command, and we're going to start seeing the impact that the consumer app has on command and the impacts that command can have on the consumer app. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop my share on my phone, and I'm going to move it over to sharing my command screen. And to edit the guide, okay, so we're talking about the guides right now, you would come into consumer. Okay, so you can see here's consumer. I would want to click on consumer. And that's going to take me into 3 different tabs at the very top. One of those tabs actually says Guide Builder. So you can see here's Guide Builder. If I click on Guide Builder, you will see the 2 guides that are available right now. It's the buying guide and the selling guide. Just a heads up, in the future, you'll be able to actually create additional guides. So it might be a first-time home buyer guide, a luxury home buying guide, a foreclosure home buying guide, right? You can think about the different guides that you might build out, and then you can assign those to each contact based upon who they are and what their needs might be. A selling guide, you might do something a little bit different with a luxury property than a standard property, and you do something completely different with farm and ranch because you got to have surveys and minerals and all the other kind of stuff, right? So you could see all the different needs for additional guides. They are coming up with that soon. You'll be able to create additional guides. Right now, just the 2. However, if you want to make edits, you've got your list of notes that you just took, right? Because you read through each one of those guide steps. You're going to come over to the pencil, and this is where you can actually edit the guides. Now, we were looking at the buying guide. This is the actual selling guide. How many of you would agree? Now, this is not a knock on the marketing department of KWRI. I think they're an amazing team, and they have provided us with such amazing features. And yet, each one of these steps are extremely detailed. And yet, how many of you would agree that to sell your home, it only takes 4 simple steps and then we close, right? So each one of these steps has a significant amount of information. I would argue that we probably want to break that out and have some additional steps so that it doesn't look like it's just 4 easy steps and we're done, right? So to make changes, you would just click on any one. You can see you can change the photo, you can change the title, you can change the subtitle, and then when they click on the step, the information that then shows up, this is called workspace text, and you can see all of that here. So if I wanted to remove some of the items in this text because I'm going to add an additional step, I would change it here. And then once that was done, I would come down and click on Add a Step. And let's just say, right, it jumps right into showing your home. I think staging your home is probably a step that would happen before we show it. So staging your home, right? And then I would go and find a photo that I wanted to use for that actual listing or that actual step. Make sure that you're using royalty-free, copyright-free photos. There's several different sites out there that you can utilize those from. I would click on continue, and then you can see here's an image with the step. I can click on it. And again, if I want to change the title, subtitle, or write in the workspace details, that's where I would do it. By default, it's going to add that step to the very bottom, but obviously we're not going to stage the home after we close. So I can click on this tab and I can start to drag that step up. I can move it down all around wherever I want it to land. Let's just say I want it to be first. I would click on staging your home and then I would click on save changes. If I didn't like this step, I didn't want it anymore, I could always click on the remove step trash can. That would pull that step out altogether. Okay, so it's going to take some time, guys. There's 5 steps on one, 9 steps on the other. There's 2 different guides. You may create a multitude of new steps. And my recommendation is that you personalize these guides to what it's like to work with you and or your team. I would also use this as a tool when I was on the buyer consultation or the listing appointment. Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Seller, working in a real estate transaction and the process included can be very detailed, sometimes stressful. I want to make sure that you always know where we stand at any point with regards to this transaction. And when I say that, what I mean is you can actually use my consumer app to see all of this buying or selling steps, right, depending on who they are, working with me. And here's the other nice thing. Every time we complete one of those steps, I'm going to check them off so that you can just look at your app and see where are we right now, what have we already done, and what do we have left to do. Okay, and so in order to actually do that portion, again, as the agent, you're going to come into the opportunity that you have created for that consumer. Now, you need to make sure, obviously, that they have downloaded the app and connected with you, right? So that they have actually branded their app to you. But you can see when I come in, this is just a test opportunity that I've actually created with a contact who I know downloaded my app, so that I can then play with the guides and show you what that looks like. So you're going to come into opportunities. You're going to find that specific opportunity that's connected to that contact, right? That has actually downloaded your app. And when you click into the opportunity itself, you can see here's that opportunity. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to get several tabs across the top. Some of you have probably seen these tabs, but you may not have played much within Seller Profile. So if I click on Seller Profile, you can see Elena, who's my friend and the contact associated with this actual opportunity, has registered with my consumer platform. If she has not, this part doesn't show up. And because she has, I can now manage my guide. This is a listing opportunity. So if I click on Manage Guide, it's going to be the selling guide. You can see here are the 5 steps, and I can check or uncheck any one of these steps. And as I do so, her app will then have a blue check mark next to the step in the guide section of her actual consumer app. So it's a great way for you to kind of give your client updates. Now, of course, you're probably still going to be texting them or calling them. But if you go through that guide and you create 14, 15, I don't know, 22 different steps, it's an easy way for them to always see where are we, what have we done, what do we have left to do. And I think it's a fantastic tool when you're competing for a listing or a buyer. You can show them your app and how it works because the other guy or gal doesn't have that. Okay, so it's one more tool, one more weapon you can use when you're competing for that business. Show them the consumer app and how it works, walking them through the guide. So we spent a lot of time talking about the app. How do we make sure we get it into our actual consumers' hands? We want to start broadcasting it. We'll make sure they're downloading it, that they're using it. I showed you one way earlier. From the app, sharing it within the app, just make sure you change the text so that it makes sense. Okay, so that's way number 1. Number 2, if you click on the consumer applet within Command, it's the second to last one. Again, you're going to get those tabs at the top that we talked about. And regardless of which one of these 3 tabs you're on, you're going to have a button that says Site and App Settings. If you click on Site and App Settings, you'll see that you have several tabs across the top. One of those is URLs. So if you click on URLs, you will now see that your app URL is listed. This is my specific to me link. So that's what I want to be sharing with my consumers. And I can easily copy this. And then if I was on Facebook, if I was sending out emails, if I was having any sort of conversation on my computer, I could quickly just send that link to them. And when they get that link and click on it, they will be taken to a download page where they can either, if they're on their phone or tablet, they can just click on one of these buttons and download my branded app. Or if they're on their desktop or laptop, they can actually just put in my phone number, or their phone number, excuse me. They can click on Send Link, and all of a sudden they'll get a text message similar to the one that you would have sent from within the app to download from there. Additionally, on this page, they're going to get a video from Family Reunion about the consumer app, and then some key features about it as well. So you can share that actual link anytime you want to anyone in order to have them download your version. So manually is the second process. The third process is to use Smart Plans. So you'll see if you click on the Smart Plan applet here, 4th icon down, there is actually a Smart Plan that revolves around the app. So if you don't have any Smart Plans here or just a few, that's okay, no worries. We're going to click on Library, and you will see that the first one listed is the Promote My App Smart Plan. Any one of these 10 Smart Plans that has been created for you, you have the ability to click on View Steps and see what does this actual Smart Plan do. So in this case, if I put somebody on this Smart Plan, it's going to fire immediately an email to that person. That email is going to look very similar to this page, just so you have a heads up. So they would have the ability to then download your app from the email. Then it's going to wait one day, and it's going to send out either a task for a text or the text itself. And the difference there is whether or not you have Twilio connected to your KW Command platform. Twilio is a third-party texting service that you can integrate into Command. Now, it's not free, but it is very inexpensive, meaning that you pay less than 1 penny per text that's going out or coming back in, as long as it's less than 160 characters. Okay, so it's a penny per every, it's actually 0.0075. So less than a penny per text. They will charge you $20 when you set it up. And then as you deplete down to $10 or so, it rebills you back up to 20. So just like the toll tags, right? If you have Twilio connected, these texts are fired for you, meaning that it's going to wait 1 day and then send the text out on your behalf. If you don't have Twilio, it will create a task within Task Manager to send this text. Then it's going to wait 3 more days, and it's then going to send this text. Okay, so to add this smart plan, to use it, you want to click on Add Smart Plan, and then it will show up under your list. So you can see here's the version here, My Promote My App. Here's the other nice thing, guys. You can come into this smart plan anytime you see a pencil that is not grayed out. See how this one's grayed out? It means I cannot edit it. I can edit the Promote My App smart plan. So you can click on that pencil, and then you can come in specifically to the 2 texts that are being sent out, step 3 and step 5, both send out a text, and you can make edits to these actual text messages. My recommendation is that you personalize these texts and that you always identify yourself. So in each of these texts, on any Twilio Smart Plan text, you have what are called merge fields. If you click on this box over here where it says merge fields, these are all pieces of information that are automatically being brought in either from you as the agent or from the contact itself. So you can see I altered this first text to say, hey, contact first name, which was one of the merge fields I brought in. So that way, if I was sending it to Anjanette, it would say, hey, Anjanette. It would say, hey, Bobby. It would say, hey, Cheryl, Colleen, hey, Kathy, and so on and so forth. You would get the text, and it would look like I personally was sitting on my phone customizing it for you. In reality, I just built out this one text, and it gets fired to anyone I put on the smart plan. It's going to say, this is agent first name, last name with KW. Or in this case, I just wrote in, hey, it's Marty with KW, just to make sure that they knew it was me. Here's the one thing about Twilio is that it is a business text line, meaning that you are purchasing a phone number in order to send these texts out from. So it is not coming from your personal cell phone number. By default, you're going to get a 512 area code because the company is located in Austin. You can go to Twilio support and order a local area code. You're going to pay an extra $1 per month to have that local area code. But even then, it's not your phone number. It's just a local area code and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is. So I always let my consumers know that I have purchased a business text line in order to ensure that any text that I send them or they send me are 1, secure, and 2, separate from any of my personal texts that are happening on my phone. That way, I always know exactly where to access any text message that you have sent me, and it stays secure and separate from my personal text. It is going to come from a different number. If you ever need to call me, please just call me on my personal cell. But if you need to send me a text, feel free to text this number so that way we can keep that separate and secure. And I think most people accept that. They're actually impressed by that because 1, I'm making sure that, hey, your information is kept secure. 2, that it's separate. 3, I can access that text at any point from any time on my command platform and be able to easily see our conversations without having to scroll through, right, 20, 40, 60, 80 different text messages to find the one that came from you. So this is how you would edit this smart plan with regards to the texts that are being sent out from Twilio. Once you have your edits made, you would just click on Save. And then you can come back into the smart plan applet. And if you want to add people from this applet, you can by just clicking on the person with the plus sign. This is an easy way for me to start adding people to the Promote My App Smart Plan. And I can search for their name, or I can actually search for a tag that they're associated with. So maybe I want to put all of my buyers on this smart plan because I want them all to transition over. I could click on Buyer. You would see 17 contacts. I could then click on Select All. It would then select all 17, right? So you see 14 plus, or 4 plus 13 more. And then I could click on add to smart plan. It would say, do you want to start them all now? Do you want to start them all at a future date? Or do you want to stagger them out over the next few days? So do you want to do 3 a day, 4 a day, 5 a day, whatever I can decide. So that's how I can add contacts to the smart plan within the smart plan applet. I can also add them from contacts. So if it's one person that I just met at an open house or somewhere else and I'm adding them to my database, but I want them to download my app, I could come into that one person's contact record. I could click on smart plans. I would click on add to smart plan. And then you would see promote my app is one of the ones I can select. And now I can decide whether to add Aaron right now or add Aaron tomorrow or in the future. Lastly, if I'm in my contacts submenu, the home screen, I can see all of my contacts. I could do the same thing that I did within the smart plan applet, and then I could create a filter. Maybe it's I want all of my buyers, again, using that same filter, but you could choose any set of filters that you wanted and have a set number of people on the screen. And then I can add up to 50 at once by clicking on this box to select all of them, right? I want to make sure that I have show 1 through 50 or 50 contacts at once. And then I can select bulk action and then add to smart plan. And I would add them the same way that I did earlier by selecting, and I have those same choices that I did from within the smart plan app. So that's option number 3, is to use one of your smart plans, the Promote My App smart plan, to get them downloading your app. The last option is to actually use social media. And we're going to do that through campaigns. So I can click on the campaigns submenu here. Now I need to make sure that I have connected my Facebook or my Twitter or both within the settings of command. So if I come into command settings, you will see that I've got an option in order to create connect Facebook post scheduling. And now you are connecting, just so you guys know, you're connecting your personal profile. However, your personal profile is not where these posts are being scheduled. They're being scheduled on your business page. So you've got to make sure that you have created a business page so that they can then create the posts on that business page. Important thing to know. Twitter, it's just going to actually post those on your Twitter account. So once both or one or the other of these are connected, then when I come into campaigns, I can click on the social post tab here at the very top. And if I scroll down on the right-hand side, you're going to see social posts. These are what we call quick posts, in that they have already been created for you. They already have a professionally designed either photo or video, and they've got professionally designed text, and they're quick, easy, and ready to go. So let's say this bottom one is the one that I wanted to post. All I would have to do would be click on this little arrow. It's going to say, all right, here's the text we recommend you use. However, if you don't like this text, you could always click on shuffle, see another version, shuffle, see another version, or you could just come in here and type whatever you want and then actually use that verbiage, right? So you can fully customize whatever the text says. You can see the marketing photo has already been loaded for you. My DBA is already loaded, and I can choose to whether I want to schedule this post or whether I want to publish it immediately. I could click on schedule post. Now I've taught this class several times. So let's just say I want to schedule this starting out in June. Let's do June 5th, Friday. Actually, I want that to go out at 9 a.m. So I'm going to change the time to go out at 9 a.m. And then I can choose Facebook or Twitter or both and click on schedule post. And then you'll see easily, boom, here's what it looks like on Facebook. Here's what it looks like on Twitter. I can click on schedule post. It now scheduled that professionally designed marketing photo with the text that's already included to go out on my Facebook page and my Twitter page. And you can see I did this previously on June 1st. Here's June 5th. This one is now going out, and that's all I had to do. Okay, as you click on shuffle, you're going to get a variety of options, right? And you can see there's probably at least 20 different versions of these posts that you could post into your Facebook business pages or your Twitter account. I would recommend that this one be posted every single week. You can see I've already got it scheduled for that same week, right? So this is actually the consumer app video from Family Reunion. If I click on play, say professionally designed, created, great little soundtrack there, right? To engage people on your page to watch the video. And then in the actual text, I can click on the arrow just like I did on the first one, and it's got my link. This is my link. So if they click on that, they're going to go download my version. You can see this one defaults to publishing immediately, but I could easily click on schedule and do the same thing that I did with the other one. And then I could choose, do I want this to go out on Facebook, Twitter, or both, and do the exact same thing. Guys, homework. Come in here and schedule once a week, 20 minutes, to schedule 3 or 4 different posts to go out on your Facebook and Twitter accounts every single week. Heck, you could schedule 45 minutes a month. One day a month, schedule 45 minutes, and then go through and schedule out, because you saw how quick and easy that was. And when I click on Shuffle, you can see there is plenty of content that's already been designed for me by the marketing team for me to use, right? I mean, that's probably what, 10 different, 12 different versions just by me clicking on Shuffle 6 or 7 times there. So there is no excuse why you can't have social media content going out on your Facebook business pages and Twitter account about your app quickly and easily. You don't have to design anything. You don't even have to think about what to say. You're literally just using what the marketing team has put together for us. So I highly recommend that you do just that. Let's talk about how you see what your contacts or your consumers are doing within your actual app platform. You are going to get some notifications for things that they do, and you are not going to get some notifications for things that they do. So if I come up to my notifications bell, you already saw the Kelly alert that came in with my tour request. You can see I also get a notification here in command. So if I click on this video tour requested, the white part, you'll see it's a hyperlink. It takes me immediately into my contact record, and here's that contact request. So I can see which listing are they wanting to see, and click on that and get the full information on the actual listing, right? So I can see all the information about the property, just get more familiar with it. And then if I click on the actual request, I can see when do they want to see it and by what methods. And then I would just call the consumer and say, hey, Friday morning actually works best for me. Does 9 o'clock work? Yes, 9 o'clock works. Great. I'll be at the property at 9 o'clock. I have an Apple. Do you have an Apple? You're with an iPhone's great. Let's just use FaceTime. No, I've got an Android. Okay, well, let's use Facebook Messenger, whatever it may be, right? So you guys work out between the two of you what platform you're going to use for that video tour request. Now, if it's just an in-person request, great. Hey, does Friday morning at 9 o'clock work? Let me go ahead and get it scheduled. I'll confirm with you as soon as I have it scheduled, and then we'll meet you at that property. So you can see that that is an alert item, both via Kelly on my phone and command via the bell. Now, I also did a lot of other things in the app that did not provide an alert, because the reason being is you may have 50 consumers using your app or 500 using your app. If you got an alert every time they did anything, your alerts would just constantly be going off, right? So we know that that's not necessarily what you want. But you can come in and see, all right, I added you, in this case, I added me as my agent here. Then I created a saved search. Remember how I created that search and I named it Cinco East of 99? You can see when I did that. You can actually click on the saved search, and it's going to give you some basic information about what that search includes, the price range, and then how many bedrooms we were looking at. As I understand, we're going to get more information on these actual saved searches in the future. But I can come back to the timeline and see, all right, so he added me as his agent, he created a saved search, and then he started viewing collections. Now, because this collection already existed, you're not going to see created collection. However, if I had created a new collection, you would have seen an item that said created collection, and then viewed collection, and then edited collection. I went in and added a property or removed a property and made some sort of edit to that collection. So these types of things, just so you know, are not alertable, if you will. I don't even know if that's a word, but these are not items you will get alerts on. So what's the easiest way to see who's been on your app and who's been doing what? I would come in every day that I was doing lead follow-up, lead generation. I would come into my command, I would click on contacts, and I would sort. I would make sure that I had this column last visited. By default, you should have it. If for any reason you don't, click on customize columns and make sure that it is checked so that you have it. Then I would just click on the actual column itself, and you will see it will sort all of your contacts by when they were last on either your app, your website, or your landing pages. Okay, any one of those three will be considered a visit. And so you can see whether they, either they clicked on an email and opened a landing page, they were actually using your app, whatever, they were doing something with what you have sent them or provided them. And then this would be the order that I would start calling through. And I would say, wow, looks like Marty was on something 41 minutes ago. What was he doing? Cool, I can come in. Oh, wow. So he actually edited a collection, he viewed a collection, he created a search. All right, let me look into these properties. Okay, I'm going to give him a call and say, hey, just wanted to check in, yada, yada, yada. Now I can kind of see what he's been up to. And what a great time to call when they were just, he may still be on the app for whatever, for all I know, right? So it's a great way for you to start doing purposeful lead follow-up. Okay, so anytime they create a collection, view a collection, edit a collection, save a search, add me as an agent, request a tour, all of that information is going to start showing up in their contact records. And of course, if they request a tour, you'll also get a notification within Command and on Kelly, so you can make sure you follow up with that request. So guys, that's our class on the KW Consumer app. Let's walk through, because it was a power-packed hour and a half. We talked about the app itself as a consumer. So we talked about the different abilities to search. I can search by landmark, I can search by neighborhood, I can search by school district, I can do a filtered search, I can actually do a map search where I draw the area that I'm looking to move to on the actual map. I can go through and actually change my view so that I can see an overhead view from the kind of Google Earth platform and see, zoom in and look around with power lines, with sidewalks, bayous, what do I back to, what's around me. We talked a lot about the guide and the ability for you as an agent to customize that guide, and the ability for the consumer to actually walk through and see all of the steps that you include on that guide. In addition, we then got into Command and talked about, again, how you make those edits, but the different ways that you can get the app into your contact's hands. So I can manually share my link. I can share it from within the app as long as I make the edits to the text. I can share it via a smart plan, or I can share it via social media using campaigns. Again, all four of those methods completely free to you, right? The smart plan will cost you a little bit of money for the text, but we're talking about it would cost you what, a penny and a half per person that you put on that smart plan. And then finally, we got into Command to look at what's the easiest way for me to see who's been on my app, who's been on my sites, etc. Last thing I want to show you, there is a new filter within Command. So sometimes you may say, I just want to know who has my app, right? Not necessarily when they've been on it, but who's actually downloaded it. I want to track, it started off with 3, how many people have actually downloaded it now. You can click on filters here at the top of your contact screen, and the branded to me filter in this bottom right. If I choose yes, and then click on apply, you can now see all of the people. This little green check mark means that they have downloaded your app, okay? Or they have registered on your site. They can also register on your agent's site and get this check mark, but typically it's because they have downloaded your app. So it's a great way to kind of track the success that you're having with regards to your campaigns and your smart plans and manually sending out all of that type of information. All right, so that's the class for today. Guys, we did record this, just a heads up. I know a couple of you jumped on late, so I will send this recording back to your leadership team so they can send that out and you can rewatch it. I also know that sometimes I talk fast, something I'm working on. And so, especially when it's a product that I really believe in and I'm excited about, I tend to get a little excited and I go quick. So you can always go back and rewatch the video, and then watch, and then pause and do some more, and then watch, and whatever works best for you. So if you have any questions right now, you can throw them in the chat. We can get those answered. Otherwise, we can get you on your way for the rest of your afternoon. Looking forward to an amazing red day tomorrow. Colleen, Anjanette, you guys are both very welcome. Thanks for being here. Always a pleasure seeing you guys. And if that's it, well, then I will go ahead and wrap the class here. Again, I'll send this over. It'll be loaded to my YouTube channel. I'll send the link to leadership so you guys can watch it from there. Get in there, guys. This app is a very powerful tool, and we want to make sure they're using your app, not using some other app that's not going to really benefit you as their agent. So I highly recommend you get them in there, start using the app so you can see everything they're doing, and then really impact your business that way. So hope you guys are continuing to stay safe, stay healthy, take care of your families. I'll look forward to seeing you guys here in the near future. And as always, you've got an amazing leadership team there, an amazing tech support team. Colleen doing a great job as a Labs advisor, really working with you guys, getting you up and running. So lean on her and she leans on me, and together we will make it happen. Kathy, I'm going to send that link to your leadership team. It'll be out by the end of the week. So I'm sure they will then send it out to all of you so you can watch it from there. But it'll be uploaded to my YouTube channel as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can do that and find it there. All right. Take care, guys. You guys have a great rest of the day.